Welcome to the Dream Big Summit, here today with my very special guest, Patty Malek, who herself has the talk show Soul to Soul, and she's giving these talks 2 times a week. Is a radio show that talks soul to soul with highly acclaimed people. Here you're hearing them all at once, but I want to talk with Patty today about everything she's gleaned from her talks, all the wisdoms, plus she will be talking to us about how she discovered that she is really creating life and how it turned her life around. She is already in the works of working on a TV station show, and she has a lot of speakers. And I met her, actually she's now living in Hawaii and California, and she's traveling the world to interview hosts and different people. I actually was on her show years ago, and that's how I got to know Patty. And I love for what she stands. I love the vibration she holds. You know, I want to just tell you, before this show and every show, I tune in with my to-be speakers, and she was like beaming. She was sitting, I tuned in, I stood in the sun, and we were connecting soul to soul, and she was blessing this show. And so you're not only listening to a person who knows how to talk to other people, she's a woman who holds a current. So that's what is her gift, and that's what she does with her shows, is what she told me. And this current, let's all tune into that today. Let's all perk up our inner ears, tune in, get more present than ever before, than just a moment before. And let's turn it over here to Patty Malek from Soul to Soul Talk, here with me today from Maui. And Patty, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ilona. It is wonderful to be with you again. I know we connected in Bali.
Yes.
When last year, maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yes.
And had you as a guest on my Soul Talk show, and I'm so grateful. And it was wonderful connecting with you in Bali.
So let me ask you, you worked for 25 years in a normal world until about, 5 years ago or so?
2008 really started the transition for me.
Okay, but you were working for 25 years as an interior designer.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly the shift came to becoming totally an interior designer. Same spelling, different meaning. Tell us about your shift, how you came into this awareness and what happened, and then how did you change your world?
You know, it was 2008, and I remember just being tired of, not interested anymore in doing my clients' homes.
Mm.
And I was really tapping into the interior design of my client and fascinated with, why their life was the way it was. And, it showed up in their homes, and I could see it clearly.
Oh, yeah.
And little by little, what started happening is, and this is how spirit works, is things started showing up in my inbox. Things from the metaphysical world, and things from Jennifer McLean, who had started her master series. And I was just drawn like a magnet. And I thought, I knew that this was my new world.
Okay.
And I remember that I was at this point where I was starting to open my third interior design store. Oh. And I thought, what am I doing? And I was confused, because I knew that this was coming in strong, but this other world was like opening up to me. And I started talking to psychics, and they said, well, we're all being called now.
Mm-hmm.
And when they said that, I got it. And I knew that this old world, for me, my old work was ending.
Yes.
And that this was the new. I had no idea what it was going to look like, but things started showing up about being a life coach, and that intrigued me. I'd never heard of it before. And I started following that path, and eventually it led to being a transformation coach, and things I was growing and evolving myself, getting to know, this new work but it just was drawing me. And I ended up for about 3 years being a caregiver for both of my parents. And while I was with them, having the internet access to this information helped me to be able to be with them, but still, growing myself and staying connected. So when they passed, I was absolutely broke. I had sold my interior design businesses to live on, to be able to help them. And I needed a job. And I knew that the fastest way for me to bring in money was to go back to interior design. And because the coaching, really takes a while to develop and build, and it wasn't making money for me that I could live on and support myself. And so I went back to interior design, and I was miserable. I was like, get me out of here.
I'm sure.
I knew that it was my old world, and it just wasn't fitting me anymore. And anyway, I stayed with it for about 9 months, and I kept asking every day, how can I serve? How can I serve? And the message that came through for me was that I had to close this door before the new one was going to open. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to quit this job, And it was just an absolute leap of faith, as they say, just jumping off the bridge and surrendering. And I went in and quit my job. And that night I was meditating. And this vision of this media company came to me that was so clear. It was so profound and so detailed that I knew that was my work. And the first phase of the business was to be an online magazine, which I started. And the second phase was Soul Talk. It was an online talk show. And then the third phase is to be television. And right from the get-go, I knew nothing about media. And I said, if this is my work, send me someone that will help me, because I have no idea how to create a magazine. And within 24 hours, this person showed up, and it just has been absolutely divinely guided from the get-go. And there were struggles in the beginning because, of course, an online magazine, being new, you're not going to get the advertisers, and you have to be creative in finding ways to monetize it. But that started, and then, the Soul Talk started filtering in. I could feel that, it was getting time to, think about putting something together. And you're guided,
Yes.
You just get out of your own way. And when that feeling comes in, you take that action. And I always knew, because I didn't know anything else, I didn't know that, I'm just not aggressive like that to know how to start Soul Talk. I just allowed myself to be guided to do it. But what was happening was I was also, through all of this, still trying to be a coach. And it was frustrating because I still was not, even though I was in service or thought that I was being in service, I still was not able to, the money just wasn't coming as, people will say, when you're in service, the money just flows, and it, was still stuck, And I remember, I had just moved to Santa Barbara, and John Burgos, I know, who's going to be on your summit, is in the same work. And he and I had been collaborating together, and we went out to lunch, and I said, John, you're a great coach. I said, why aren't you coaching anymore? And he said, I realized that it set the platform for the work that I'm doing now. And as soon as he said that, I got it. And I quit the coaching. I just stopped. And as soon as I did that, the doors just opened to Soul Talk. I mean, I knew exactly what to do. I had that set up within 6 weeks, and it took off right from the beginning. Like, absolutely everybody I asked wanted to be on the show, and it was just phenomenal right from the beginning.
Right.
And what I realized is that I had deviated from the vision that I was given.
Mm.
The vision wasn't to be a coach. The vision, what I came to find out was that it was not about me working one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
It was about me bringing all of my guests to a bigger audience
Mm-hmm.
to be able to help more people,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone has a different modality of
Right.
healing or,
Gift.
whatever their work is. And it's going to draw different people.
Yeah.
We're not all drawn to the same
Modality. Yeah.
transformational workers,
Right.
and that's what it's been about. So, if anyone says, that it's all about making money, it's not. It's
Right.
about being of service,
Yeah.
and really, not trying to alter that. Get in our head and figure out, well, how can I do this? How can I do that? It all comes just
So
naturally.
and what you did is you asked and you said, what do I do? And you took time to have practiced silence enough to receive a download and a vision. And it still took a little time to decipher how that exactly was going to filter through. And I do believe we each have different gifts. And I think we need to try different avenues, try this, try that. One step may only take us a year into the direction of the next step. Like my ex-husband took me in the direction of meeting my present husband when I was 21 and a half. I always think if I hadn't married what is now my ex-husband, which my mother told me would be the better choice not to do, I wouldn't have come to this point, right? So all our steps are building our capacities and gifts. So when did you realize that your thoughts create the reality? There was a turning point in your life, as far as I recall. I'd love to hear about that, how you really got that you've got to pay attention to your thoughts.
Yeah, I was at a point, and I had started the business, and I think it was about a year later where I was still struggling, with problems
Mm-hmm.
in my life, in my personal life, and they all seemed to revolve around money. That was always the valuing yourself, and all of the things that are attached to that. But when I realized that my thoughts were creating the life that I was living,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, they are changing now. Because I'm not living this life anymore.
Right.
I'm tired of, the issues that come up and the problems and and I just wanted to be done with it. I thought, I'm in service and I want things to just flow. And what I did was I was very meticulous. I was so set on ending this mindset that was creating the obstacles, that I became very conscious of every thought that I was having. And in the beginning, you kind of forget throughout the day, but I would catch myself and I would be, see, there. And as soon as I did that, it would go, I wouldn't have to resolve it again. And I just kept catching myself, and every day it got stronger and stronger and stronger. And after about 3 months, I sat there and I was like, wow, I don't have any negative thoughts anymore.
Wow.
And my life, it takes time for the manifestation to catch up.
Yeah.
But my life started changing exponentially.
Wow.
And I was like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is really good.
So what would you do if you caught yourself having, let's say, a negative thought?
You don't do anything. You just say, see, there, right there, that
observe.
One,
so you
one.
step back. You step back and observe it and go, do I choose that or what? And then you choose to, what did you choose instead?
What happens is you don't even have to do the work that much. You recognize that thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the recognition. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, you automatically eliminate it from happening.
And
again.
You step into a higher perspective, almost like your soul starts watching your life, right? You step into soul perception or soul awareness.
Yeah. Exactly. And little by little, for me, it took 3 months before I really noticed the difference in eliminating thoughts, because I was really on a roll. I was like, this is not,
This gonna happen now. Cool.
we're nipping this in the bud.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of just totally being consciously aware.
Yeah.
And then, the energy kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep repeating it.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of negative thoughts, when we're really, if our lives are in struggle, and, we're like, I don't understand why I can't manifest this. I don't understand why this isn't happening, and it is
repeating the same thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. It's bootstrapping. That is quite the job. I mean, bootstrapping oneself out of a bad situation takes a lot of dedication. I write in my book, Dream Big, the Universe is Listening, that's coming out now too. It's the story of this man who was tied to a wheelchair. And I think I mentioned it earlier. It takes in another show, it takes dedication. And he would visualize himself in the end result. But he did this for 4 years. He didn't give up until the end result 4 years later as he was walking. But imagine just doing it for the first month, 2 months, 6 months, maybe the increments of change are imperceptible at first, but he stuck with it. And if I could drive any message home is these methods work. Do it again and again. Mm-hmm. And if you stop, do it again tomorrow or in the next minute, like you said.
But it doesn't take that long anymore, right? Because the frequencies of the planet are so high now that things are just happening very quickly. And I think something that would have taken 4 years is now taking, a month. It just is phenomenal.
So let me ask you, Patty, this is a very direct and personal question. I hear it a lot. The frequencies on the planet are shifting so drastically, and yet, and I would agree. Barely I have a thought, it's already manifesting. But that's me after having done my homework for XYZ number of decades. For you, XYZ number of years, Is that statement true for every single person you know? Or is that statement true for when you've done your homework long enough that things are happening so fast?
We can live in whatever dimension we choose to.
Right.
And I choose to not live in the third dimension of problems and struggle and pain and suffering. And, so cool. I have, through my guests, I would give it huge credit to my guests that have been on. I've worked with many, many of them, most all of them. And what I have come to is a place of just my life is so joyful, and I would call a state of bliss. I have no problems, no struggles, I get to travel all over the world now. And now I'm in Maui, and, I'm going to buy a place here and then travel back and forth to California. I'm going to continue to travel the world. It just is whatever I want shows up. And I never have to worry anymore. I don't, I don't worry about money. It's just there. It shows up, what I need. And this is the dimension I choose to live in.
Right.
There is, you get to choose.
And that's the point.
Yeah. But why would you choose the third?
Right. And but people who are listening, they usually are listening from a place of wanting to get guidance, finding out. So I think it's beautiful for them to hear that you, after having come from that world of struggle and normal life, being an interior designer is not normal, but at least you were, feeling like, okay, that's the American dream life, and then saying, look, enough's enough. I'm going to take charge of my mind, charge of my focus, change it and refocus it on where I keep wanting to be. And then eventually that became total reality to where now that is all there is. And I think people need to hear that and see living examples, because it's so easy sometimes to say, oh, well, you were born with a golden spoon in your mouth, So you're a living example of having taken yourself from the ordinary into the extraordinary.
Well, and I think I don't think I know that the message that has been trying to come through to us
Mm-hmm.
since we arrived on this planet, and many of us as children knew the message, but it
Right.
got covered up by all of the programming
Yeah.
that we got growing up.
Yeah.
But that message is we are uh, divine creators,
Yeah.
and we can manifest whatever we choose
Yes.
as long as we just state your intention and your desire.
Yeah.
It will show up. But it is all the programming and all the stuff that gets in the way that blocks it.
Right.
And we forget how truly what great creators that we are. And it's all very simple. You know, that is the common theme that I've gotten from all of my guests, I would say, that I've interviewed, is that it really is very simple. We make it very complicated. It's just a matter of asking
Yes.
and believing.
Yeah, it is. Those are the two
Letting
fundamentals.
go,
Yep.
yeah, letting go
Ask
of doubt.
and belief. Yep.
Yeah.
And belief builds itself up over time. As you ask and you receive, ask and receive, and you go like, wow, the universe is actually listening. So
Yeah.
you can keep
Yeah.
dreaming bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Things show up instantly for me now.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things, you know, that really are all in divine timing.
Yes. Okay.
You know, that is something that I think we forget about. You know, I know when I wanted to really physically leave my old world, I was waiting to sell a house, and it took 2 years, and I was so frustrated. And I thought, why is it taking so long? And all I wanted to do was be in California. And it really was about divine timing. It was all, you know, it's not just about me, it's about the other people associated.
Yes.
You know, that were going to be buying the house, or that were involved in selling the house, or, you know, whatever it was.
Yes.
So there are situations.
Let's point that out, because I find that a lot. The people who may have come to me and said, look, there's an issue, I'm not sure, this isn't manifesting, usually have had more people than themselves involved, and that timing needs to be coordinated for all and everyone. You know, if it's just something you need for yourself, and then sometimes I've had miracle stories that I write about in my books. It's like, wow, how can this be when hundreds of people are involved? But in that moment, it's almost anonymous 100. It's not like, you know, and it also depends, again, how many fears and worries we have in our subconscious about a given subject. You know? But yeah, it's like sometimes it's children and parents and people and their people and all that. It's a bigger time-space structure that shifts into the right place and timing.
Exactly. And, you know, even for myself, you know, my place that I was going to be moving to in California wasn't ready. You know, there is just all of these things that fall into place. But I also think that they are falling into place much more quickly now, you know, with those higher frequencies. I mean, things are just, they can happen very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it is actually, the more you are on the path, the more you realize that everything past, present, and future exists in one single point. And it's our consciousness that locates any time space. It's like we are the time traveler sitting right in the very center of choice.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to point out to everybody who's listening, please check out Patty's free gift to us, which is 5 of her top interviews from her show, Soul Talk, and she will share them with us free of charge. You just click on that link above. You will get access to all the 5 top talks that have helped her the most and impressed her the most. And you have hundreds of people in your shows every week. So when is your talk show regularly, and where do we find you? We
are typically Tuesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 4 p.m. And every once in a while we'll do a Wednesday show, because I have so many people that, you know, you want to schedule and get in.
Right.
So it is, I think we gave you the link. It's I think it's the www Soul Lifetimes / Soul Talk.
Okay. And I will make sure. Yeah, I'll make sure it's in the access down below on the sales page. We'll have a little write-up for you there and the button to click through to your
Perfect.
Soul Talk. That way people can find you easily, follow up, and be participating in all of the speakers. You've had how many? I mean, hundreds of speakers by now.
Yeah, I haven't even added them up.
Yeah.
They just keep going, because it's amazing what, now I used to have to, sit and say, okay, now I have to do a little research and figure out who I want to have on. Now I just ask every week to be guided to the people that I need to bring to Soul Talk.
Awesome.
And they show up.
Yeah.
They show up. I don't have to even do anything. It's so phenomenal. And everything is just so perfectly aligned. It's always at the right time.
Yep.
That they're picking a date to come on. And it's phenomenal. I love what I do.
That's when you know you're on. And so let's take with us the concept, because what I'd like to do into the second extra part of our interview is talk about the nuggets that you've received from your interviews, really the three fundamental truths you've found from your interviews, maybe 5, whatever you want to share with us, that you've seen over and over show up, and also a little bit of a cosmology. It's like, here we are embedded as soul. What's the purpose of our life's journey? Why are we learning? Why are we struggling? And where are we going to? And I would like to take that into the second segment. I want to make sure that everybody has picked your freebie up in the meantime, and given themselves a gift of continuous access to these kinds of talks, phenomenal speakers that you have on your show. And then also join us in the second segment for the all access pass people, $1 per interview. It's affordable. Or actually, if you're doing it only now, it'll be $2 per interview, but that's still cheap. So let's just recap the technique. You were mentioning how focusing on stopping yourself anytime you're in the middle of noticing a negative thought and going, that's it. And you step out of that space. Okay, you want to keep summarizing a couple of points that really work, summarizing our first talk here.
I think that is the most important. That is key to changing your life, to really seeing some change happen, because your thoughts are the fuel that are driving your life that you're living right now. Nothing else. It's not your husband, it's not your wife, it's not your kids, it's not your boss, it's your thoughts. That's the only thing you have to change to have the life you desire.
Yes. True. Thank you so much. Thank you, Patty. I'm excited to go into the second part with you and talk about the nuggets, and then also the cosmology around why are we here and what are we doing and what is this learning that we are the co-creator of reality, and then divine co-creating, what that is about.
Fantastic.
So I'll talk to you in a second. I'll be putting this into the first segment. Bye-bye for everybody, and see all the All Access Pass people in the second interview. Bye. See you in a second.